understanding of what it is, and then we'll talk more specifically about how to move your existing Microsoft Dynamics GP deployment to the Azure cloud. Later this afternoon at 2 p.m., we are going to have another Azure session that's going to be focused on disaster recovery along with data storage and backup. So if you are interested in attending that session as well, you can go out to our website, to our events page, and register for that session. My name is Eric Sheehan with OTT, and in the room here with me today, we also have Alan Reinke and Dean Spidell. We will have an opportunity for questions and answers at the end of today's session. Everyone is currently muted right now. When we're done with the presentation, we will unmute everyone and allow you to answer questions. Today's session also will be recorded, and we will make it available on our website later today. Okay, so Azure is Microsoft's cloud platform that is a set of comprehensive cloud services for customers to build, deploy, and manage their application on Microsoft's global network of data centers. Microsoft really likes to speak of digital transformation, which allows you to engage all of your customers, transform your products, empower your employees, and optimize your operations. Here's just a few predictions about going digital. By 2020, they are predicting that there will be 1 million new devices per hour coming online. By 2020, they also predict that the average age of the S&P 500 corporations will only be 12 years, and that 81% of businesses will be running in a hybrid environment. So today we're going to focus on 4 different areas: trust and security, open and hybrid deployments, application innovation, and data-driven intelligence. So Azure is a consistent, reliable cloud service that is a fit for organizations looking to run everything in the cloud, or for customers that prefer a hybrid model. In a hybrid model, you can connect data and apps in the cloud to your existing on-premise business solutions. Whether you are looking to deploy servers in the cloud, looking for data storage capabilities, managing databases, networking, or analytics, Microsoft Azure has solutions for you. So on the security front, Azure has the ability to detect and mitigate threats. It allows you to scale regionally, nationally, and globally across regions, and then it's considered the most trusted cloud model. Microsoft has a couple different teams that are focused on detecting and mitigating threats. They have what they call the red team and the blue team, where they divide up their responsibilities to ensure that you have a safe computing environment. Here's an example of just a few of the dashboards within the system that are being used to monitor the security threats and responding to them and eliminating them. Speaking of the global regions, a map where you can see that there are 38 different Azure regions. Recently just launched US regions in the West and West Central, Germany, the UK, and they have newly announced locations in the Far East as well. Security standards, a lot of different security standards you can see here on this slide, but it just goes to show all the security standards that Microsoft Azure is in compliance with, not only here in the US, but globally. Let's take a look at just a small case study here from Oaklawn Marketing. They had a problem with mobile workforce and adopting software as a service, and their challenge was getting integrated access management. So what did they do? They deployed Azure Active Directory Premium Identity Protection. which had a positive impact on their users to safeguard user identities and mitigate risky events. They also had inconsistent security and a reactive approach. Their challenge was ease of monitoring and proactive protection. So what did they do? They deployed the Azure Security Center with third-party integrations, which allowed consistent cloud security and a quicker response to the threats. The next piece is the deployment model, open and hybrid. So Microsoft Azure is a proven platform for deploying your applications and APIs without the need for high-priced servers and the high cost of maintenance. Azure will allow you to quickly deploy powerful applications and services to the cloud, and you can scale from 1 to hundreds in a matter of minutes. After your applications have been deployed, Azure will manage the provisioning, load balancing, along with health monitoring and more. Applications are backed up with industry-leading 99.95% monthly service level agreements. And by moving to Azure, you no longer have to be responsible or worry about patching, hardware issues, or networking failures. You can be continuously operational by redirecting traffic from a troubled instance to ones that are running smoothly. Automatic operating system updates are provided along with security patches to ensure you are running on the most current set of tools. Azure can also work as a staging environment for testing new versions or for upgrades to help manage a smooth transition to the latest release of your mission-critical business applications. So with the open and hybrid model, you can run open source solutions. You can identify, have consistent identity between your apps and your data management practices and deploy the cloud solutions on-premise. Here are examples of some of the open source solutions that are available in Microsoft Azure for you to work with. And then next, we have a couple slides that just talk or show what an on-premise deployment looks like compared to the cloud. So many people are tired of the headache and the cost of managing, maintaining their own on-premise servers. So what Azure allows you to do is free up more of your time and capital investments to truly grow your business by moving your on-premise servers to the Microsoft Azure cloud. Azure gives you the ability, all in familiar Windows environment, to spin up 64-bit virtual machines in the cloud. This will provide you with scalability and flexibility for you to grow your business. The platforms can be set up very quickly and all managed from the Azure Dashboard, which we'll look at a little bit later today. Pay only for what you use in configuration, storage, and processing time. It can be set up to meet your business-specific needs, all for monthly operating expense instead of tying up cash in large equipment capital expenditures. Here's the case study with the Port Authority. They had issues with resource migration and upgrades and rapid development life cycles. Their challenge was to adopt a cloud infrastructure that had rapid resource provisioning. Solution, they spun up Azure virtual machines. The positive business impact it had, it allowed them to reduce their costs. They moved from large capital expenditures to monthly operational expenditures, and it provided them with a more flexible platform to run their business. Blanco Electric, their problem was they had huge event-driven demand, on-premise open source resources to manage, and the challenge was how to automatically scale these with resource templates. Their solution, again, was to leverage Azure virtual machine scale sets, automation, and you can see the business impact running 17,000 concurrent users, 4,000 orders per hour at peak at an 80% cost reduction. The next component is app innovation. Azure allows you to build apps in their cloud, manage the delivery of those applications and the development of those all through mobile innovation. So here's just a screenshot that shows the different components that are used for building apps and deploying them in Azure, along with support of third-party frameworks. Small case study here with Heineken. They had a problem with a multiplayer pinball game that needed to support over 1 million users. And the challenge was to make it available in 70 different markets along with 30 different languages. The solution was 1 to 4 global with 10 to 10,000 partitions, and the impact was capacity from 2 million to 40 million along with a CRM integration to their mobile application game. The last component is data-driven intelligence. Microsoft Azure SQL Database is the intelligent, fully managed relational cloud database service from Microsoft. It has built-in intelligence that learns your database patterns and automatically adjusts to ensure you are running at optimum performance with the security protection that you need. Regulatory compliance is something taken very seriously at Microsoft. Azure SQL Database has physical and operational security that meets the most stringent regulatory compliances, including HIPAA, PCI DSS, and FedRAMP. Azure SQL Database is a highly scalable data center in the cloud. It provides high-speed operations with minimal downtime and improved usability compared to on-premise solutions. It also comes with easy-to-use migration tools to bring your on-premise databases into the cloud. So here you can see you can support your business strategy with any data with the database that we discussed, predict through the artificial intelligence so that you can respond proactively to your business needs. Here's just a slide showing the traditional data and where the data gets stored, along with some of the front-end tools that you would see as an end user. With the artificial intelligence, Azure has learning templates that are available that can help you with your demand forecasting, predictive maintenance, all through APIs with end user interfaces. So here's just an example of the artificial intelligence where you can engage. This is an example engaging with a customer through text. They can actually read the text in different languages, make suggestions on what you're saying, and interact in personal ways. A few of the things that the artificial intelligence covers is vision, so computer vision. Here it can see what an image is and identify what it is. Speech to text recognition, multiple languages, knowledge exploration services, and interaction with Bing search. So here's a small case study with Schneider Electric. Their problem was they had remote locations with highly distributed engineers, and they needed the ability to do remote monitoring along with some predictive analysis of maintenance needs. They did an Azure infrastructure suite with machine learning integrated with Power BI, and their business impact was the energy consumption went down by 13%, along with improving education and healthcare. Rolls-Royce, they had a problem with huge amounts of data, costly maintenance scheduling, and they needed the ability to have remote sensor reporting with predictive analysis. Solution, Azure Infrastructure Suite with machine learning and Power BI. They were able to reduce their maintenance costs and improve fuel efficiency. So the areas that we covered are high security and trust, deployment options, application innovation, and data-driven intelligence. Just to wrap up this portion of the presentation, just a few more statistics here. Currently, there's 194 billion external requests made to Azure App Service, over 340 billion SQL queries processed every single day, over 750 million Azure Active Directory users, and 188 billion hits to websites running on the Azure Web App Service. And today, over 90% of Fortune 500 companies are using some portion of the Microsoft Cloud. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Dean Speidel and Alan Renke, and we're going to talk more specifically about how you would move your Dynamics GP deployment to the cloud. So at this point, I will make Alan the presenter.
Thanks, Eric. Welcome, everyone. Just wanted to follow up on a couple things after Eric presented. So many people ask about what's the next stage or what's the next thing that we look at doing when it comes to Azure planning. And the things and components that we go through from a planning perspective is we sit down and we go through and talk about licensing, looking at the licensing around Dynamics GP and all the required software that's related to the Microsoft Azure environment. Then also discuss legal aspects. I know that many companies out there are concerned about when they move data up to Azure, what legal components are in place, who sees the data, who doesn't see the data, and those types of questions. And then we go through and talk about the Dynamics GP specific components. We evaluate the current infrastructure that you have in place, review the hardware components, whether it's memory, the drives, whether there's workstations and terminal servers in place, and identify specific definitions for how we want to look at building that Azure environment. And then there's multiple deployment models that are available. You have an extended corporate network, which allows you to have components within Azure and then also linking back to your existing corporate environment. Or you can go into a dedicated private virtual network where everything would be out on the Azure server and environment. And then once we define those system requirements, and we're going to go through some detail and show you how the process works as far as calculating an Azure environment from a pricing perspective and the various options that we have around that. And then we also talk about the high availability and disaster recovery. Eric alluded to that this morning at the start, where we'll be talking about backup and data recovery components in the 2 to 3 o'clock session today. So with that, I'll go ahead and transition it over to Alan, and we're going to jump in and look at the Azure Dashboard to kind of demonstrate and show you the information that's available.
So the basics behind the dashboard is just kind of to give a quick overview of what services you might have set up within Azure. The dashboard is customizable so that you can add in your own widgets and things as such, be it if you, in our case, our main thing is we have a bunch of virtual servers, so that's what I have on my dashboard, but in other cases, you could have databases, things like that you might want to pop up onto here. One of the first things that Dean said is that when you're going to go to the Azure, you probably want to take a look at how much it might cost. So one of the sites that Microsoft has set up is their pricing calculator. So if you just kind of walk through this, so if we're looking to set up a new virtual server, a virtual machine, you can come in here and select that. And then just kind of go through these various prompts to determine, what region you want it to be set up in, your operating system that you're looking to have utilized, Microsoft Linux, whether or not you're setting up just a basic OS server, a SQL server or BizTalk server. For this, I'll go ahead and select SQL. Which tier are you going to do, a basic Azure tier or standard? And then the licensing for your SQL server. We'll go standard for both of these. Once you've decided that, you'll get a list of instances that you can choose from. Essentially what these are is they're broken down by how many core processors and how much RAM and temporary storage you want on your server that you're building. And it'll show you up here on the side what it costs per hour to run that particular server. So if we're looking for something that's, say, 2 cores or more with 32 gig of RAM, we just kind of go through here and look for something that'll match up with that. So we'll go with 4 cores and 28. So that would be your basics. There is an additional billing option here where you can specify that you're going to sign up for a 1-year or a 3-year contract, which can reduce the cost. The thing to note here is that Microsoft only has a set number of instances available for that fall into those ranges. So if you look at this, there's a lot more servers listed here. But if I go to a 3-year reserved, all of those A models dropped off. And if you're doing a pay-as-you-go type of thing, you can also even break it down to the number of hours. And you say, by default, it's going to drop in what it normally would be in monthly total hours per month. But if you're only going to run the server part-time, you could, change that and get an idea. After you pick the server, you also would want to pick if you need any additional storage, how many disks, what size. So say you want to have an additional drive of 128 gig, I'd want to add that. And then based on my selections, it gives me a $909 a month total. So now that you've decided on what type of server you want and you have your Azure account set up, your next thing would be to go into your dashboard and actually create the server. So here you would go into your virtual machines. Click Add. Slow. The first screen here that you're going to get is you're going to pick your operating system. In this case, we're going to go with Microsoft. And then they'll give you a list of OSs that you can choose from. As you'll see, it'll be the most recent ones available that are still supported. So if you're looking to spin up a server with an OS that's out of date, you're not going to find that here. So let's just do a 2012. After you've selected your OS, Just going to go through some basic configuration information. You're going to have to name your server. Set up your admin account that it will create when it builds the server. Can't type today. You can put it within an existing resource group, or if it's a first time you're building it, you would create one. Again, you'd specify what region you want it to be in. There is an option that if you already have OS and Microsoft licenses through other means, you can specify that and actually get a 40% discount on the server. Which in some cases, if you're running a hybrid type environment where you have on-premise servers and then you're moving just certain ones to the cloud, you may already have a licensing agreement set up with Microsoft that you're utilizing, so you can save some money with that. So after entering the basics, the next screen essentially is going to go through and I'm going to pick the size of the server, which is going to kind of mirror up back with what we were looking at here in the pricing calculator. So I'd be looking, in this case, if I wanted to build this exact server, I'd be looking for this model V8MS. By default, they'll give you some default choices to look at what they recommend. You can click this View All, and it'll show you everything. And so then the last steps will actually be selecting the server that you want, the server size, and then there'll be an option to create. Okay. Do that because servers take about 15 to 30 minutes to spin up once you've selected them and finalized that. So in this case, I'm not going to build this one. I'm just going to go over to one that I've already built earlier. So here's a list of my current servers, and you can see is the majority of them are stopped, which means I'm not paying anything for these servers to be out there other than the storage. It's only when they're running that you would pay. So here's one that, Great Plains one that we started up and built. So by clicking here, I'll get the basic information about the server. From here, I'm able to start it or stop it. I can also capture an image of it. So if you want to replicate a server, you can easily do that. Once your server is finalized and built, if you want to create, however many more of that, you can just come in, capture the image, and then when you build the new server, you would go through, instead of selecting the Microsoft, there was an option to build it from an image. Another thing here is, we talked kind of about the scalability, is from within here, I can, you know, add disks if I need to. Resize it, change the size on the fly as needed. Currently, Microsoft doesn't allow you to just add RAM to an existing server. You're kind of locked into picking one of those core modules that I have there, where it's, you know, you have a preset number of servers, or I'm sorry, processors and RAM. You can't arbitrarily just throw RAM at a server. So once it's up and running, if we just click in to connect to it, it's going to just do a standard remote desktop type connection. And basically, this just looks like any other server in any of your other environments. See, one of the things that I have to note is if you do add additional disk space to your server during the setup, Microsoft does not automatically configure that for you on the server itself. So once you log into the server the first time, you would have to go into the disk management and partition out that additional disk space yourself. That's one other thing to remember is when I built this server, it gave me 30 gig of temporary storage. Temporary storage is truly that. It's temporary. It's only available as long as the server is online. If you take this server offline, anything that's in this, that I have on this D drive would disappear. If you have additional drives that you add and you're paying for, those would remain intact when the server is taken offline. And just like any other server, this one has Great Plains installed, so it's just, you know, the normal installation.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to go through the process and unmute everyone. We did have one online question that we will try and answer here. And Dean and Alan, the question is there a way to transfer my local VM without building out a new server in the cloud?
Not that I'm currently aware of. That. I can check into that if you're able to capture an image of your existing one, if you're able to upload that.
Okay. Are there other questions that anyone has this morning? Okay, it appears there are no other questions, so I want to Thank you for taking the time this morning to join our webinar, and wish you a great rest of the day. Thank you.